The widow's arrival. The wagon wheels cracked over the dry earth, every turn rattling like bones in the desert. Dust clung to the air, copper-red beneath the setting sun, and the mule's breath came harsh and labored. The woman sat straight on the worn bench, her hands folded tight in her lap, the round of her belly straining against a faded dress. She did not look at the cabin until it loomed close, timbers dark with age, a roof patched with tin, smoke curling thin from the crooked chimney. A man stood on the porch, broad shoulders, coat hanging loose, rifle leaning easy against the wall beside him. His face was carved with shadows, beard rough, eyes harder than river stones. He didn't move as the wagon drew near, only watched, silent as a hawk waiting for its prey. The woman climbed down. Her boots met the earth with a soft thud, and she brushed her palms against the dust. Behind her, the mule snorted. She lifted her chin, though her throat burned with thirst. "You're late," the man said. His voice was low, grating, as if in used a speech. The trail was long. Her words carried steady, though her breath caught on the dryness of her lips. He looked her over, belly, worn dress, tired eyes. "Didn't figure they'd send me one ready to burst. I can work." She tightened her grip on the satchel in her hand. "I wouldn't have come if I couldn't." He spat in the dust. "We'll see." Silence stretched, broken only by the creak of the wagon as it settled. A crow called from a canyon ridge, harsh and lonely. The man stepped down from the porch, boots grinding gravel, and came close enough she could smell whiskey on his breath. He took her satchel without asking, opened it, and rifled through its meager contents: thread, a small Bible, a folded blanket worn thin. He tossed it back. "Cook, clean, mend what needs mending. You keep to that, you'll stay. I don't need chatter." Her eyes flickered, but she nodded once. He turned without another word, climbing the porch again. The boards groaned beneath his weight. At the door he paused, hand on the latch, and glanced back. Cabin small, floorboards and back lean. "Don't touch the chest by the stove." The woman followed him in. Inside, the air was heavy with smoke and old sweat. A single lantern flickered weakly against the walls. The table was scarred with knife marks, its surface cluttered with empty bottles and the remains of past meals. Dust lingered thick along the shelves, and the hearth held only gray ash. She set her satchel down and pulled her shoulders straighter. "I'll need water." A grunt came from him as he dropped into the chair. "Well runs behind the cabin. Watch for snakes." She fetched a bucket and slipped outside. The desert air pressed close, hot even as the sun sank. From the well came the creak of the rope, the splash of cool water rising. She dipped the bucket, lifted it, and carried it back in both hands, steady despite her swollen belly. The man hadn't moved. His hat shadowed his face, eyes narrowed, following her every step. She poured water into a basin, washed her hands, then set about clearing the table. The clatter of bottles, the scrape of tin plates, it all filled the silence between them. When she moved to the hearth, she knelt slow, gathered kindling, and struck flint until sparks caught. The flame rose, thin and trembling at first, then steady. She set the skillet upon the fire, the smell of heated iron spreading into the room. "You ain't afraid," he muttered finally. She didn't look at him. Afraid of what? His mouth curved, not quite a smile. "Me." The woman stirred the fire. "If I were, I wouldn't be here." His gaze lingered. Outside, wind hissed through the cracks in the walls, carrying the dry whisper of sage. She worked until the room smelled of beans simmering, bread warming by the fire. He leaned back, arms crossed, eyes never leaving her. When the food was ready, she set it on the table. He reached for the plate. Her hand stopped him, light but firm. He frowned. "We'll say grace," she said. For a heartbeat, the air stilled. The fire popped, the mule brayed in the distance. His hand stayed frozen above the plate. "What?" His voice rasped. Her gaze met his, calm, steady. "Grace. For the food." A muscle jumped in his jaw. "Ain't done that in years." "Then tonight you'll remember." He stared at her, hard and long, as if daring her to flinch. She did not. At last he leaned back, muttering under his breath. She bowed her head. Her voice was soft but sure. "Lord, we thank you for this meal, for the strength of our hands, and for mercy yet to come." The words filled the cabin like light pushing against shadow. When she lifted her head, he was watching her, not angry, not mocking but unsettled. His hand finally dropped to his plate, and he ate without a word. The woman sat across from him, small against the dim room, yet her presence pressed stronger than the desert wind outside. And as the night deepened, the old cabin seemed less empty, though no one spoke again. Grace in the desert. The knife rasped over the whetstone, steady, unhurried. Steel whispered in the dim light, sparks catching and dying. The woman wiped her hands on her apron and set another loaf of bread to cool by the fire. Outside, the wind beat against the shutters, carrying dust that scratched like sandpaper on wood. The man paused, lifted the knife to his eye, tested the edge with his thumb. His gaze flicked to her. She hummed under her breath as she kneaded dough, the tune faint, rising above the crackle of the fire. He scowled, though the sound lodged deep in his chest. "You don't quit," he muttered. Her hands never stopped working the dough. "Quit what?" "Hummin', tiddying, saying grace." He set the knife down with a thunk. "This place ain't a church." She pressed the dough into shape, calm as water. "It's a home, isn't it? Even if you forgot how to live in one." The chair legs scraped as he stood. He grabbed his coat from the wall and pushed through the door, leaving it banging in the wind. The woman watched him vanish into the desert twilight, shoulders squared, rifle slung across his back. She set the bread by the fire, wiped her hands, and followed him outside. The land stretched wide and endless, painted in red and gold. He walked toward the corral where the mule brayed. She trailed after him, silent until he turned sharp. "You stay in the cabin." His voice cut like stone. "Why?" He spat into the dust. "Men out here don't take kindly to women sticking their nose where it don't belong." She stepped closer, her belly round but her stride firm. "And you think you're the judge of what belongs?" His jaw tightened. For a moment, the only sound was the wind rolling off the canyon walls. Then, from the distance, came hoofbeats. Slow, deliberate, echoing against rock. The frontiersman stiffened. He raised a hand for silence. The widow's breath caught as two riders appeared on the ridge. Dark coats, wide hats, guns gleaming in the low sun. They didn't rush, only watched from above, their horses stamping restless against stone. The man's hand dropped to the rifle at his side. "Outlaws," he muttered. The woman straightened. "They're staring at me." He stepped forward, broad enough to block her from view. His voice dropped low, warning. "Keep quiet. Don't look at him." But she did. Her eyes lifted, meeting theirs across the distance. One of the riders tipped his hat with a slow grin. The man cursed under his breath and pulled her back toward the cabin. Inside, the air grew heavy with silence as he barred the door. "They'll be gone by nightfall," he said. "Best not give 'em reason to circle back." Her fingers brushed over the wood of the table, steady, calm. "Men like that don't need reason." He turned sharply, eyes hard. "You don't know 'em." Her voice held. "I know the look in their eyes." The night deepened, firelight casting long shadows. She set bowls on the table, her hands practiced, sure. He ate in silence, head bent low, but his ears strained at every creak outside, every brush of wind against the walls. At last he spoke. You shouldn't have met his stare. She laid her spoon down gently. "And if I hadn't, they'd still come. Fear doesn't stop a wolf. It feeds him." The man's shoulders tensed. He shoved back from the table and crossed to the door, checking the latch again, though it hadn't moved. "You don't understand." Her eyes softened, though her voice stayed firm. "I understand more than you think." He looked at her then, really looked. A fire burned in her calm, one that unsettled him more than the riders outside. The night passed slow. Wind rattled the shutters. Once, a coyote howled from the ridge, sharp and mournful. The man didn't sleep. He sat with rifle across his knees while the woman lay by the hearth, one hand resting on her belly, the other folded beneath her head. By dawn, the riders were gone. Only hoof prints cut through the dust. Underscore, 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 underscore. Later that day, in town, whispers rose as the widow walked the narrow street beside him. The saloon doors creaked open. Men leaned against railings, watching. Women turned their faces, muttering behind gloved hands. One of the townsfolk called out, voice dripping with mockery. Ain't she something? Big belly, living with him out past the ridge. Laughter rippled. The widow didn't break stride. Her eyes stayed forward, her chin lifted. The man growled low, hand twitching toward his belt, but she touched his arm, steadying. Leave it, she said softly. Her calm cut sharper than his anger. The laughter faltered as they passed, swallowed by the creak of the boardwalk beneath their boots. Underscore That evening, back at the cabin, she hummed again as she worked the fire. The man sat at the table, staring into his hands. You don't scare easy, he said at last. Fear doesn't suit me, she answered. He leaned back, eyes narrowing. You think Grace will keep you safe? Out here, only the gun decides. Her gaze rose from the skillet, steady as the flame. Guns end lives. Grace saves them. You'll see. The fire popped. Shadows danced across the walls. For the first time in years, the hardened frontiersman felt unsettled by something he couldn't name. Her quiet strength pressing stronger than steel. And outside, somewhere beyond the canyon rim, the riders laughed in the dark. Storm on the horizon. Gunshots cracked in the distance, sharp, echoing off canyon walls. The woman froze mid-step, water buckets sloshing against her skirts. From the ridge above town, smoke curled thin and black against the afternoon sky. The man was already at the door, rifle in hand, jaw clenched. They're here. The widow set the bucket down, her breath slow but steady. The outlaws. He didn't answer, only shoved cartridges into his belt, his motions sharp and practiced. His eyes cut to her belly, then away. You'll stay put. Bar the door if I ain't back by sundown. Her voice caught him cold. And if you don't come back at all? He paused, hand on the latch. For a moment the silence pressed heavy, broken only by the wind rattling through dry sage. Then he pushed out into the sun. Underscore. The town's main street was choked with dust. Horses stamped, restless under cruel spurs, while the gang rode slow, dragging fear behind them like a shadow. The leader, black coat snapping in the wind, grinned wide as he swung from the saddle. Folks been holding out, he called, voice carrying. We're here to collect. The townsfolk huddled near the saloon, faces pale, hands empty. No one stepped forward. The man pushed through the crowd, rifle across his chest. The outlaw's grin faltered. Well, if it ain't the ghost himself, the leader drawled. Didn't know you still walked the earth. The man's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing. The widow had followed, steps quiet, unnoticed until she stepped into the open. Her dress stirred in the wind, her face unflinching. Whispers rippled. The pregnant widow, the one living with him. The leader's eyes lit cruel. Now what's this? The ghost keeps company. Pretty thing, ain't she, boys? Laughter broke like gunfire. The man shifted, ready to raise his rifle, but the widow moved first. She stepped forward, meeting the outlaw's gaze head-on. You ride into towns like this, she said, voice carrying clear, because you think fear makes men weak. The laughter stilled. The leader's grin wavered. Her words struck sharp in the silence. But fear only shows the measure of a man, and I see nothing strong in you. The outlaw's jaw tightened. His hand hovered near his gun. The man tensed, rifle half raised. But the leader barked a laugh, harsh and forced. Careful, lady. Words can cut deeper than knives. She didn't move. Then you already bleed. The street held its breath. The leader spat in the dust and swung back to his horse. This ain't over. Next time, we don't just collect. The gang thundered out, hooves tearing through dirt, leaving silence behind. Underscore. underscore 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 underscore. That night, the cabin walls shook with the weight of quiet. The man sat hunched at the table, bottle in hand, shadows deep across his face. The woman mended a tear in her dress, needle flashing in lamplight. "You don't understand," he muttered. "Men like him, they won't stop. They'll come for you. For the babe." Her hands never faltered. "And you think hiding will stop them?" His fist slammed against the table. The bottle toppled, spilling liquor across the wood. His voice broke rough. "I've killed more men than I can count. Nothing I do keeps them gone." The widow's gaze lifted, steady and unwavering. "Killing never keeps death away. It only brings more." He turned from her, shoulders shaking, breath ragged. "There ain't redemption for the likes of me." Her voice softened, but her words cut deep. "Redemption isn't yours to decide. It's given." For a long while, only the fire spoke. Sparks rose, shadows bent and swayed. At last, he buried his face in his hands. She reached across the table, laying her fingers gently against his wrist. The touch stilled him, as if the weight of her grace pressed heavier than his sins. Underscore 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 underscore. Days passed tense, the horizon always watched. The gang's shadow hung over every sunrise. Tracks cut across the desert, circling closer. One evening, the widow sharpened a kitchen knife. Her hands were steady, her face unreadable. The man frowned. "You expecting company?" She wrapped the blade in cloth, set it on the shelf within reach. "I expect wolves to circle when they smell blood." He studied her, unsettled. "You don't plan to fight." Her eyes held his. "I plan to stand." Underscore 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 underscore. The threat grew louder. From the canyon came the echo of laughter, cruel and sharp. Townsfolk whispered of raids, of fire and gunpowder. Yet no one stepped forward. The widow walked into town alone one morning, skirts brushing dust. Men stared, women whispered. At the saloon door, an outlaw lounged with a cigar, smirk curling. "Look who came to town," he sneered. She stopped before him, eyes level. "You hide behind smoke and fear. But when the fire clears, men will remember only your cowardice." The smirk faltered. The cigar trembled between his fingers. For a heartbeat, he said nothing. Then he turned sharply, cursing under his breath, and vanished inside. The widow walked on, calm, unbroken. The townsfolk watched in silence, unsettled more by her stillness than by the guns that had ruled them for months. Underscore 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 underscore. Back at the cabin, the man paced like a caged wolf. "They'll ride on us. Tonight, maybe tomorrow. You should have kept quiet." She folded a blanket, laid it smooth across the chair. Quiet never saved anyone. His fist tightened on the rifle stock. "When they come, blood will spill." Her hand rested on her belly. "Then it won't be mine." The wind outside shifted. Distant hoofbeats rolled like thunder against the desert floor. The man froze, listening. The widow set the table with calm hands, placing two bowls side by side. She lit the lamp, flame steady, casting warm light across rough-hewn walls. "Sit," she said softly. He didn't move. Her eyes lifted, calm and commanding. "Sit." The weight of her voice pressed him down more than any bullet. Slowly, he lowered himself into the chair. Outside, the hoofbeats drew closer. Inside, the widow's calm filled the air stronger than fear. The storm had come. The widow's stand. Hoofbeats thundered the ground, rattling the cabin walls. Torches flared against the night, their light flickering across the cracks in the shutters. Shadows of riders circled, dark and jagged, horses snorting, leather creaking, spurs jingling. The man crouched by the window, rifle barrel gleaming in the lamplight. His jaw clenched tight as stone. They've come. The woman moved to the door, her hands calm as she slid the wooden bar free. His head snapped toward her. What in God's name are you doing? She opened the door. Cold desert wind rushed in, carrying the stench of smoke and sweat. The gang reined their horses hard, hooves churning dust. The man rose, rifle aimed, but she stepped past him, her skirts brushing the threshold. Her belly round, her shoulders straight, she walked into the firelit night. The riders laughed. The leader pushed forward, torch raised, teeth white in the glow. Well, look here. The widow steps out first. She met his gaze, unflinching. You think yourselves wolves, she said, voice ringing across the yard. But wolves don't burn towns for sport. Wolves don't prey on the helpless. You're not wolves. You're cowards. The laughter thinned. The men shifted in their saddles. The leader sneered. Big words for a woman with no gun. Her voice carried stronger than the crackle of torches. I don't need a gun. I have what you lost long ago, Grace. The word struck sharp in the night air. Some of the men stirred, glancing at one another. The leader barked a harsh laugh to cover the falter. Grace don't stop bullets. The frontiersman stepped to the door, rifle raised high. His voice was a growl. Bullets'll stop you. But she lifted her hand, holding him back. Her eyes never left the gang. No, let them hear. The gang leader's grin faltered as she stepped closer, the firelight catching her face, calm as stone. You ride on fear, she said, but fear turns on the man who holds it. You think them loyal, she swept her gaze across the men. But even now, they see you for what you are. A hollow man. A coward cloaked in fire. Murmurs rippled through the riders. One spat in the dust. Another shifted uneasy, torch dipping low. The leader snarled. His hand dropped to his revolver. Enough talk. His gun cleared the holster. But the frontiersman's rifle roared first. Flames split the night, echoes slamming through the canyon. The leader's hat spun from his head as the shot tore past, grazing. His horse reared, screaming, nearly throwing him. Chaos broke. Some men drew, firing wild. The frontiersman answered, every shot clean, unerring. Horses bucked, dust rose thick, men cursed and scattered. Through the storm of gunfire, the widow did not flinch. She stood in the firelight, her voice cutting louder than bullets. This ends tonight. Another rider fell, another broke away, spurred horse galloping into the dark. Panic spread like wildfire. The leader, shaken but unbroken, shoved his horse forward. Rage twisted his face. He leveled his revolver at her belly. Then you die first, woman of grace. Before the shot came, her voice struck like thunder. Shoot me, and every man here will know you for the coward you are. The revolver shook in his hand. His horse stamped, nostrils flaring. Around him, his men froze, eyes watching, waiting. Coward, she repeated, her tone like iron. Something in the words shattered him. His grip faltered. His men shifted, no longer laughing, no longer loyal. One cursed and wheeled his horse away. Another dropped his torch, flames sputtering in the dust. The leader roared, fury and fear tangled, but before he could fire, the frontiersman's rifle cracked again. The revolver spun from the outlaw's hand, clattering useless into the dirt. His horse reared and bolted, dragging him into the dark. Silence fell, broken only by the wind. The torches smoldered, dying one by one. The men who remained fled into the canyon, swallowed by night. Underscore, 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 underscore. The widow lowered her hand, her breathing steady. The firelight gleamed against her calm face. The man stepped beside her, rifle smoking, chest heaving. For the first time in years, he bowed his head. The townsfolk came at dawn, wide-eyed at the hoof prints, the bodies, the scattered torches. They found the cabin standing, the widow on the porch, her belly round, her gaze steady. And when they asked how it ended, The frontiersman spoke no word of his bullets. He only said, voice low, it was her. She stood. She broke them. Underscore, 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 underscore. By the firelight of years since, old storytellers lean close, their voices hushed but strong. They say a frontiersman once paid for a cook. What he got was a widow heavy with child, who faced down wolves with nothing but her voice and her grace. And when the gunsmoke cleared, it wasn't his rifle folks remembered, but the woman who stood tall as the desert sky. And the tale still rides the wind, whispering through canyons and across dust roads. Strength ain't always measured by the gun.